Shrooms work really well on them.
Welcome into the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show. Let's roll. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome into another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show, a proud member of Fantasy Points and the Fantasy Points Media Group. D. Mendy here, joined by the normal cast and crew and a special guest tonight. Of course, the normal cast and crew being Doc, Marty, Party, and Little Cheesecake. Little Cheesecake partook in something special before the show, it seems like, as he's in a special mood tonight. Cheesecake, how are you doing?
Excellent. It is show night. The night I am a minor celebrity, and it's my favorite night of the week.
What do you say to your fans?
My fans know how I feel about them. I love them. Come back, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on all my socials. I'm not going to tell you what they are.
Hit you up on the Tinder?
Hit me up on the Tinder.
Hey, how do I get a nickname, a Little Cheesecake? How do I get one of those?
You got to come up with your rap name.
That's my rap name and the last thing you ate.
Oh, man.
Whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Are you going to spit a rhyme later then?
No.
Sure.
We got to get in a battle zone somewhere with a good crowd.
There we go.
Then I'll spit some rhymes. Yeah.
You got to feel it.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be the right space.
I don't know if I've ever heard Doc rap before. Doc, have you ever rapped?
Probably not. I don't think I've heard myself rap either.
I was thinking of when they were talking about it. I was like, I feel like all these years you would have been something you could have done at some point, but you never have.
Maybe for your next birthday, I'll rap for you.
There you go. That'd be a great gift.
There you go.
Marty Party in the house, of course. Always looking dapper. Always
Big
here.
dog.
What's up, man?
Not too much. As you know, I'm in sales, so today was the last day of the month. It's been balls to the wall. So I'm happy to be here, talk baseball, and just screw around with you guys.
Marty,
did you meet your quota?
Sales call at 9:30 you have to get to in 5 minutes.
Oh, gosh. Well, I better close it.
Did you meet your quota?
I did. I blew it out of the water. I always want more. That's the name. That's the, the business. But you didn't ask me if I've ever rapped before. In 5th grade, I was in a rap group, and my name was MT Special.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, so now I know where your Reddit name
I like that.
I stepped in a room full of rappers. Good
That's his
grief.
Reddit name, MT Special.
And my gamer tag, hit me up on Xbox.
Why did you not tell us that was your nickname before? Right? We could have done
It
that.
hasn't came up yet. It's not like I don't lead that when I meet people. I wasn't like, hey, Will, great to meet you. By the way, MT Special in the house.
I just
You
thought
were telling me some stories.
Words like empty, special, like not fulfilling the promise.
Jesus, no.
Well, I hear when you hear empty, you think empty. So yeah, it does make sense. I don't know if was that on purpose.
We were in 5th grade. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, anyway, we got a special guest tonight. We welcome in a man who is the captain of vibes. He's living a dream, working for the Diamondbacks and, of course, the Hillsboro Hops. If you see him, make sure you pinch him. And he's just overall a great fantasy dude, a great real life dude. Got to meet him in Arizona. It is the Will Garofalo. How's it going, man?
It's going well, man. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, pumped to have you on the show, man. It was great meeting you in person because I know we've interacted on Twitter over the years, and it's fun to actually get to see a face in real life to the name.
Absolutely. And I think kind of like with COVID and everything that played into it a lot, it was like a lot of social interaction, meeting everybody. And like at the same time, it was like, I've known you guys. It felt like forever because we've talked online. You guys are great dudes. We got to get a Little Cheesecake out there and get him partying, going crazy. But yeah, it was a great time, man. I met a lot of people who I had, never met in person. And that's what's so special about it. So if you haven't got out there, I definitely would recommend it. Everyone's super nice and probably more nice than you would even expect, which is rare, I feel like. So yeah, I can't recommend it enough. It was great meeting you guys. Got to hang out more. I'm thinking about maybe Florida. I don't know. We might have to figure out Florida. That's a flight from Portland, Oregon, but it might be worth it.
We were talking about Oregon because I wanted to visit there this summer. I think that's just like the best spot to go on a vacation. The nature and the whole environment there is pretty like awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, you got a lot. I mean, you basically can drive an hour and a half to the beach, an hour and a half to the mountains, plenty of hiking, tons of trees everywhere. Then you got all the city vibe, of course, which, they're trying to do their little LA thing, little hipster, little whatever. But great coffee and beer if that's your kind of thing, and the food scene. So yeah, I mean it's a good time. If it gets kind of a bad rap here and there, the protests and stuff like that, but there's still a lot of good in Portland and Oregon overall. So I'd recommend it.
Shout out Oregon. I will be going in you very soon. So just keep it,
Gosh.
keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, all right, there you go.
Let's get into the show tonight. We've got another episode in our Dynasty series. We're talking about the NL Central tonight. As you guys know that have been listening over the last month, we've been taking the Dynasty part of fantasy baseball because we're in the off season, and we're looking at our top 3 Dynasty assets for each team in the division. The only caveat being they have to have some major league experience because we leave our prospect talk to the call-up. So if you guys want to hear prospect stuff about all these teams, make sure you guys check out the call-up on YouTube and on the Triple Play podcast feed. So without further ado, let's go to this first team in there. And when I told Will he was doing the Pirates, I don't think I've ever seen somebody excited to talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates until I met Will. So I'm pumped we picked the right guy for the show to talk about this team that's been dreadful for what it feels like forever at this point. Will, can you give us your first Dynasty asset that's currently on this Pittsburgh Pirates roster?
Absolutely. And it's funny because when you first let me know, I was thinking, man, I thought these guys liked me. They giving me the Pirates, huh? This is the last pick. And I started to think, I said, you know what? This is actually a blessing in disguise because we got to start with O'Neal Cruz. I mean, this guy is ridiculous.
Oh, you know what? You gave me the heads up. I'm prepared.
I mean, duck for cover, okay? Because this guy might hit a slider in the dirt out 450 feet. I mean, he's ridiculous. So everyone knows elite speed, 98th percentile, elite max XV. You got 122.4. That's the best in the business. Number 1 batted ball in StatCast era. So the big issue is, does he strike out too much? Does he chase too much? How's the launch angle? Because he hits the ball on the ground a lot. I mean, not every guy's going to be perfect. And to me, if you're hitting the ball that much, or that hard when you do make contact, your quality of contact is so good. I think you can make some tweaks. He's 24 years old. I mean, he's 6'7". I think he can stay at short. If they really want to move him off, they could. But I think he can stay there. He's going to hit in the top 4 of the order. This last year in 2022, he had a little bit of a platoon risk with hitting lefties. The WRC plus against lefties was 48, but it is only in 111 plate appearances. So it's like, how much can we really, put in that? He's 24. He was 23 then. So it's like, this guy's getting his first shake in the big leagues. Like, I try not to just act like, oh, this is who he is. I think sometimes we get caught up in that. Is like, I want to make an analysis and a judgment on this guy right away. And that doesn't give us like any room for like, oh, maybe he makes a tweak or an adjustment. And this guy, I mean, he's a physical freak. So I'm not going to put it past him to like make a tweak here or there. And then against righties, I mean, he crushed righties, WRC plus 132. They talk about the park factors are maybe an issue because it's in Pittsburgh. It's like 6th worst for power. But, I mean, he still hit, I think he hit 8 or 9. He hit 9 home runs and 181 plate appearances there at home. So it's like, again, it's like, how much do these like factors really apply to somebody who just seems to really be like kind of somebody we can't really quantify yet? I mean, you have Judge, but you don't have Judge with this speed. So, you look at how he came up last year. He came up in June. So we didn't get a taste of him until then. And then his first 2 months were really bad. I mean, he hit under 200, 244 on base, big strikeout problem, contact problem, 61%, strikeout 38. So not numbers you want to see. But again, it's like, this is his first taste. There's maybe some, character issues you want to say, or maybe sometimes he's not interested. I kind of just note that, but I'm not going to like judge him. We're not, playing for that. I'm trying to, win a Roto league or something like that or whatever points. So you have two, go ahead.
I was going to say, I can't let us talk positive about O'Neal Cruz for too long.
Go ahead.
I got to be the Debbie Downer in this sense.
Okay. I was probably getting to it, but go ahead.
The chase rate is one thing. He swings at some of the worst pitches ever that are like clearly balls. Like he refuses to take a walk. And that he's 24 years old. It's not like, he knows better.
Yeah.
The eye isn't there.
So I don't know. I mean, I see that sometimes, but if you look at what's the stat here I have? Like if you look at his swing percentage, he only swings like 41% of the time, which is kind of weird because you would think somebody who's chasing like that would be swinging a lot. So I wonder if it is something of maybe he's trying to do too much, or gripping a little bit when he comes up. But yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. Like that's going to be part of.
Just watch the wrong games to bet on.
That could be it too. Sometimes it's weird, right? You feel like you watch a guy and you're like, I see this guy hit a home run every time, and you go, look, he's got 6 home runs. It's like, okay, have I seen every home run? We need to get you on a StatCast reel and just watching some of these rockets he's hitting and just calm the nerves on the bad swings.
It wasn't even just a bad swing; it was a bad error on top of that.
Well, he has
getting thrown out at third, making the first out. I get you. I hear you. I mean,
he does have the hardest hit ball in the StatCast era.
Yeah,
that was something that he did. And to your point, Will, if you look his month by month, 214, 202, 195. But once you got into September,
tell him
284, and then 284 in September, and then in October, 19 plate appearances, hit 313 with a 421 OBP. The one thing with his improvement, which is great, one also that we talked about that he's free on that looks like he's going to be walking in the Pittsburgh Pirates. If he does start hitting, is he going to be the type of guy that pitchers don't give him anything good to hit because the lineup around him is very bad? And so he starts pressing and starts swinging and taking pitches because he doesn't walk already. So that's where my concern a little bit could tie in without the protection there, that he could go into a slump because pitchers are basically not throwing him anything to hit if they're not worried about the rest of their lineup. And I don't know if he's good enough at this point to be like an Aaron Judge where he's able to just look at the strike zone and able to judge it well enough to be able to wait for his pitch to hit. So we'll have to see what's up with that. I think I'm reading I got to read the private chat while I'm talking. But yeah, O'Neal Cruz is definitely a very polarizing player for sure.
And I hear that, and I think that's part of the adjustment, right? Is he has to learn that like if they're not going to pitch to me, I can't swing. I have to get on base and hurt them with my legs, right? And then if I'm continuously hurting them with my legs, then you got to think twice about, and that's the other thing though. I think he's a very daunting player to pitch to. So I think that psychologically with the pitcher on the mound, he's like, I better not make a mistake. Right. So I think that's the counterbalance is if he's maybe making a mistake or trying to be more careful, Cruz has to lay off that a little bit more. But it shows already if he's not swinging a lot, to me, it tells me that, okay, maybe there's a tweak. It's not that he needs to be Javi Baez and cut all the way down. So, and I get the team. I mean, that's definitely one of the downsides. But he did have 54 RBIs already last year and over 300 plate appearances. So maybe that's a little overblown. I mean, I don't know. That's they got Brian Reynolds there. That they got a couple other guys. I don't know how you feel about Brian Hayes. But yeah,
well, let's wrap up with this so we can.
Yeah,
I was gonna say let's wrap up with this because I know we'll talk about a lot of other players. Not even though O'Neal Cruz is definitely a very polarizing player to talk about. This is a redraft question, but it just kind of shows how we feel about O'Neal Cruz right now. He's going 77 on NFBC, or right about pick 76. Are you guys comfortable taking him where he is right now? Yes or no? Yes. Will?
Yes.
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
Marty? Yes. Yeah. Eric? Yes.
I'm in the first pitch Arizona.
The profile you're gonna get from him is like one of like 10 guys. So the batting average might not be really great like some of these other guys, but you're talking about 25-20, and so yeah, I'm grabbing that. A lot of those guys are going in the first, second, third rounds. So.
O'Neal Cruz at pick, what did I say? 73 or no, what did I say? 76. O'Neal Cruz at pick 76 or Adolis Garcia at pick 63.
Cruz,
but I hate both.
When is Jazz Chisholm going?
Jazz
Chisholm
that. He's going 51.
51. Okay. He's kind of like this year's Jazz Chisholm.
Yeah. All right. So let's move then to our next team. And LC is up, and he got to do his hometown Chicago Cubbies back here. I don't know what video you're referencing to.
If he would take O'Neal Cruz.
Would you draft Cruz? Yeah.
Oh, he said no. Yeah, we're on the same page. The guy Mike Carter checking in here. It's our dude. Art, talk to us about the hometown Cubs and
absolutely
what we should talk about for their first dynasty asset.
I'm going to start with Hayden Wesneski, the 25-year-old pitching pickup from the Yankees in the Scott Effross trade at the trade deadline last year. Wesneski is possibly the best young arm on the Cubs team. Definitely the best one in the major league roster at the moment. He has a whippy motion, produces great movement on the slider, and he actually throws 4 pitches right now. And he, in 2022 in the big leagues, he was incredibly effective with that arsenal. He was well above league average in barrel rate, average exit velocity, sweet spot percentage, expected batting average, expected slugging, expected ERA. Bada bing, bada boom. Wesneski was fantastic in his 4 starts that he put up in 2022 in 6 total appearances. So what you have to try and look into the future with this is like, where do you project him? I know our boy Vinny's huge on Hayden Wesneski. I think I'm starting to agree with him. Wesneski has a profile of a solid major league starting pitcher. His slider, which was very effective, it's very effective against righties and lefties. He uses it against both. It has the same type of movement. It's been compared to Sonny Gray's slider. It's been compared to Alek Manoah's slider. And his it's hard not to see Sonny Gray's throwing motion when you see Wesneski throw. And one of the things that I when I was researching that I found out was his pitching coach for Double-A, who really worked on his leg strength, really worked on his pitching form, was Daniel Moscos, who's now a current Cubs coach. And I have to believe that his input was sought in picking up Wesneski, and they knew they had something with him. Currently going at 2023 ADP, currently nowhere to be found in the top 500 dynasty assets on Fantrax. I think that's a mistake. I think Wesneski has a solid spot in the rotation, and there's a potential to be pretty good this year, I think.
Art, what do you think is his ceiling if you were to be like his best case scenario this year?
This season?
Yes.
Best case scenario for Wesneski.
He wakes up on the right side of the bed and everything is coming up daisies for him. What's the best case scenario for Hayden Wesneski?
To not miss a start, for one. Second, best case scenario, I think, an ERA under 4, like a 3.7, 3.6 for his first season with good strikeout numbers.
Okay, but and is he the Cubs number 2?
If you well,
or is he their ace opening day?
He might be better than Stroman. Yeah, I'm not sure.
We're talking about the Cubs ace.
He might be. Well, I mean, he might be. He looked very good, and I think he's going to look pretty good next season as well. He's still young. He's only 25, and this was his first taste. So there, it's hard. You got to temper the expectations. It's a very small sample, but something kind of clicked in his development in the last couple of years, especially after he started working with the Yankees pitching staff in the minor league that helped develop all their pitchers as well.
Elsie, are you worried about that he had a nearly 84% left on base percentage, and that could have been a reason that maybe his numbers were a little bit better than what they might have been?
I mean, his numbers are not going to stay where they were for sure. Cause I didn't write it down. He was incredible. He would have been the Cy Young Award winner if he put that up for a whole season. And he would, he absolutely. So yeah, everything is going to come back down to earth for sure with that. So, but 84% is not like, it's not like 92. That's not like incredibly high. It's high, but it's not like incredibly high.
I think the league average, if I'm not mistaken, I think the league average is 73%, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So there is some room. And then if that 84 drops into the 60s, then it's going to be bad. But yeah, so he was high for sure. So that's definitely going to lead to some regression right there as well. So
Art, I think you're high for how many times you said high in the last minute.
Could be. Vinny does think, which is the Hayden Wisniewski guy. Like I said, if he breaks out, I feel like why do I keep calling him Vinny? I should call him DTF. That's what everybody knows him as here. Has him as he's the guy that I think was on that breakout first, and he thinks Josh Winder is the floor comp for him this year. So got to see what happens with Mr. Wisniewski. Marty Party, you have the Cincinnati Reds, who have so much great young talent, not just in their minor leagues, but also coming up with the big leagues, especially on the pitching side. Who is, I know two pitchers that you're going to have on this show. So which one
you already know? We're starting with Nick Lodolo, the 24-year-old lefty out of TCU. Now for both him and Hunter Green, the Great American Small Park, that's the big thing against them, right? So we got to start there, put into the context of where they're going to be pitching half of their games. Lodolo last year, 4-7, 3.66 ERA. Over the 103.1 innings, he had 131 strikeouts with a 1.25 whip. The good is 29.7 K percentage. Lights out, 87th percentile. His XBA was 215, which was in the 75th percentile. What I like about Lodolo is what I don't like about Green, and that Lodolo has 4 pitches. Green's basically rocking only 2. So Lodolo has the 4-seam, the curveball, and the sinker, which he throws them about 32 to 26% of the time. So somewhere in there, it's pretty equal. He mixes in his changeup 10% of the time. So he has a full arsenal. Now, the bad is 3.97 xERA, which is middling. I mean, especially when for a rookie, and in that ballpark, it's not that bad, but it's 8.8 walk percentage. He needs to definitely improve that. So that was in the 36th percentile. He flashed good command in college and the minors, so I think he's going to be able to come around there. But it was definitely one of his weaker points for his first year. Now, looking at trades, and this is my favorite part of this. So if I'm looking for a win now pitcher for Lodolo, here's 3 guys. Let me know what you think: Luis Castillo, Kevin Gausman, or Max Fried.
Are we acquiring Lodolo?
Right. Like, let's say I want to win now pitcher, and you don't really believe in what Lodolo did last year. And so you want to trade him. You want to trade him for a guy who's looking to unload Castillo, Gausman, or Fried. I think that's somewhere the range for him, with Fried and Castillo being the top. Castillo's 30 years old, Fried's 29, and Kevin Gausman's 32. So I think that's kind of the ballpark where I'm thinking for him on the upper side. If I'm looking to rebuild, I'm going to hold him. And why I'm looking at his last month. So from September 1st to October 1st, over 36.1 innings, he had 49 strikeouts with a 2.48 ERA and a 2.72 xFIP. So he was absolutely incredible. He won people a lot of leagues, especially in head-to-head leagues. So if I'm rebuilding and, I need a pitching staff, I'm just going to hold him. If I'm looking to unload him for a win now hitter, I'm looking for like a Corey Seager or a Cedric Mullins, late 20s, early 30s, looking for a good hitter. I think that's somewhere to go. If you're looking to unload him and you don't believe in his last month, Eloy Jimenez, Cabrian Hayes, your boy Will, and then your other boy, O'Neal Cruz. So I want to ask you, Will, what do you think about that? Lodolo for O'Neal Cruz?
No shot.
Dynasty.
No shot.
No way?
What
about Cabrian Hayes?
Yeah, you could have Hayes and a bucket of balls. Yeah. I'm not a big Hayes guy. But I think
Will, if I offered you the naming rights to my firstborn child for your guy, would you do it?
And Lodolo?
Would you not do it for just the naming rights?
What team are you doing? Who are you giving me? No.
I'll give you the naming rights for my firstborn. You can give me
David, hold on. I can't co-sign on this. What kind of position you putting me in right there?
Gotta think on the spot.
David knows he can't hold up his end of the bargain on that.
I'll tell my wife and be like,
he can't hold
O'Neal Cruz
he can't hold it up.
I got O'Neal Cruz in Dynasty. It's worth giving up the naming rights for my firstborn.
Man, I'm gonna be on the phone with the wife or the future wife and just like, hey, Mendy said it. I don't know what to tell you. It's O'Neal. Sorry. No.
I'll be kicked out on the street.
Yeah.
O'Neal Mendelson.
No, I love Lodolo's nice though. Lodolo's nice.
He is. I like the comparisons you have, Marty. I think the pitchers you were talking about, I think are right in that range where I would look at like to trade for in a dynasty league. Doc, let's go to you. Actually, one thing I did want to say on Lodolo before we move on. You talked about at the end of the season, he had back-to-back 11K outings. In that month alone, I had 44 strikeouts in 31.1 innings. Did you say that, Marty, or no? Did I miss that?
I went a little bit further. 36 innings, and he had 49 Ks.
Yeah, but you did for October too. Yeah, yep. But remember, he did miss that from April 24th until July 5th. He was out with injury, and it looked like he pretty much turned the corner from that point because his whip really kind of, even though he finished the season with not a great whip, a 1.25 whip, he really brought it down from the beginning of the season. So it looked like he turned the corner once he came back and
really quickly on that, because Hunter Green also had an amazing last month, and Little Cheesecake has talked about this a bunch. You're playing quad A players a lot of times that last month of the season, so we always got to keep that in mind.
That's true. Very true.
Still good stuff.
Doc, let's go ahead.
It did shorten up though. They did shorten up the rosters though, so I don't think it's as big of a margin of.
And that's why we bring in the guy who works for a baseball team, baby.
I'm here.
Yeah, they're bringing the.
Let's continue this show. I talked about Cruz too long. Let's keep this rolling.
All right, Doc. Let's go to you. You had the the Arizona Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals, and I'm curious. Did Nolan Arenado make your list?
Of course. You want me to talk about him first? I was going to talk with I was going to talk about the NL MVP first.
No, why don't you talk about Nolan Arenado? Because if you want to get your love affair with him out first, you can.
Okay. I mean, I can't believe he had to even ask that I would include him. So when we look at his stats last season, he hit 293, a 358 OBP, and 533 slug. He's 31 years old. He hit 30 homers, 103 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, which is actually a career high. And maybe this surprises you, but from a dynasty perspective, I'm still buying him. I think the industry is out on him for whatever reason, but he's just so consistent. He's played 91% of his games in his last 7 full seasons. He's had 1 IL stint. His last 7 seasons, he's had at least 30 home runs and 100 RBIs. He's hit 280 in at least 6 out of those last 7. He just had a career high 5 stolen bases. Now they're increasing the base size for here. And the K percentage is relatively low. It's 14.6 for his career. It was 11.6 last year. He's hitting in a great lineup. He opted in for the remaining 5 years, so he's going to be with the Cardinals for a while. He's 31 years old. Hitters like him can age very well. So what I would do, I would offer Dansby Swanson for him straight up. I think Dansby Swanson has probably had the best year of his career. If you want to try to do a 2-for-1, I have no problem offering someone like Rhys Hoskins and Marcus Stroman. Maybe two guys that are rosterable. Once again, you're not going to get Arenado that he was with the Rockies, but he's still going to be a solid 280, 30 homer, 100-ish RBI guy year in, year out. David?
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Would you rather have in Dynasty Nolan Arenado or Corey Seager?
Arenado.
What about
everybody?
Arenado or Alex Bregman?
I'll take Seager, by the way.
Well, you're wrong again.
We can put it. We can make it as a board bet.
Okay, let's do it. Well, what are we going to do for Dynasty?
That's
are we looking for their counting stats the next 3 years?
Oh my, we can. I mean, whatever you want to do.
That's a
we could do it just straight up this year. We could do it over next 3.
I mean, that's a deal for both.
If it's 3 years, you guys got to have good stakes. Then that's a long bet.
Yeah.
We'll keep this rolling. We'll discuss offline. Maybe we'll have the people on Twitter decide.
Marty, I would take Bregman over Arenado.
All right, last one.
Bregman's 28.
Yeah. Well, average or OBP league though.
I feel like he's probably got to be an average. Nolan Arenado doesn't walk too much. Unless I'm not looking at him right now, but I don't think he walks too much.
Bregman does.
Yeah, Bregman and OBP I think is a boost. So,
I mean, they also just got Jose Abreu. That lineup is stacked, so you got to think about what's around there.
They might get Wilson Contreras too.
It's crazy.
Do you guys think Nolan Arenado for Shane Bieber in a dynasty league is fair?
I think it's fair.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of a couple pitchers that maybe you could trade him for if you're looking for pitching. Nolan Arenado for Joe Musgrove.
Zach Wheeler.
What about
I would take Arenado over Wheeler, and I would take him over Musgrove. I don't like the way the fella
I love Wheeler. I think that's dead on. Yeah. I think that's very close.
What about Spider-Man?
Logan Webb. No, I'm taking Arenado.
Arenado.
Oh, Logan Webb. Okay. Arenado, yeah. I'll take that.
Okay. All right.
Webb is 26, though.
Huh?
That's really young. He's 26, right?
I know.
Yeah. And Bieber's like 27. Am I wrong about that? He feels like he's 33.
But he's already changed his pitching approach.
Yeah, he's 27.
He's like pitching more to contact.
I'm older than Shane Bieber. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. You get used to that, man. It's not going to get any better.
Yeah, that's right. Facts.
Get used to it.
All right, I'm gonna try to do mine a little quicker, so I know we got a lot of guys still to cover here. Corbin Burns is the first guy. So much. It's like, do I just do all pitch? Corbin Burns, Freddie Peralta, Abby. But I'm only going to talk about Corbin Burns, who right now is, I think, the consensus best pitcher in baseball. When you take out DeGrom basically being hurt all the time, and same with Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, is like on one leg. If you were picking a dynasty SP1, it seems like it's Corbin Burns, combining with his age and his recent track record of production. 3 straight years of double-digit K per 9. His last 2 years, he's had sub 2.3 walks per 9. He also limits home runs. This year actually being the highest in the last 3 years, just barely over 1 per 9. This is also the guy that's also pitched to a sub 3 ERA each of the last 3 seasons, and has been won a Cy Young and been in contention 2 other times for it. He's just seems like he's the safest bet at this point for strikeouts, for innings, as he just crossed 200 for the first time in his career, 202 last season. Throws hard, mixes in a ton of pitches, limits home runs, has a pretty decent ground ball percentage with his strikeouts, and doesn't give up a lot of hard contacts. Ultimately, Corbin Burns is no doubt about the SP1 in Dynasty. And I don't really know, is there a pitcher that you guys like, if they offered you 1-for-1 that you would trade for him straight up?
No,
not for me.
Dynasty.
I know you guys like McClanahan a lot, but
nah. Strider would be the closest.
You can't get a pitcher from
Strider.
Which one?
An interesting. Yeah.
Strider would be the closest for me, but I would need something else. But would you, if you were rebuilding and you had Corbin Burns, would you trade him for O'Neal Cruz?
want more than that.
Yeah, I would need more than that. Would you guys
rather
your boy
have Dylan Cease? He's 26 years old. Burns is 28. What are you thinking, David?
No, I would keep Burns.
Yeah,
especially because Cease
still
I just
want
has
to see if he would do it.
No, his control stuff is still a little questionable. Yeah. All right, how about how old's Sandy Alcantara?
For Burns, that's pretty close. Yeah.
Wait, David. Yeah. Hunter Brown and Dylan Cease for Corbin Burns. Who are your guys?
I would love you for offering that to me, but I would reject it.
Wow.
I'll give you. How about let's give a couple hitters. If you have Corbin Burns and I offer you Bryce Harper, are you taking it?
No.
I'm keeping Burns.
I think I'd take Harper.
What about you, Will?
I'll take Harper.
If you have Corbin Burns and I offer you Manny Machado,
I'm keeping Burns still.
I'll keep Burns, I think.
Burns.
Manny's 30, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
What about Tatis?
Harper's 30.
Is Harper 30?
Yeah.
Yeah, Harper's a year younger than me. Man. And Mike Trout's my age. That's how I always remember that. All right, then last one.
Tatis.
I would not.
I don't want to be trading Burns, I feel like. I got to be overwhelmed if I'm trading one of the best pitchers.
Bobby Witt Jr. straight up.
Yeah,
Bobby.
I think you have to take Bobby.
Give me a Bobby, baby.
Yeah.
I like it.
Bat over arm when it comes down to it.
Which one was Vinny sold on?
Probably Bobby.
I think it was Harper.
Probably Bobby.
We just threw so many out there. I didn't even know. Well, let's go back to you. Let's go to the next Pirates player that you want to talk about.
All right, so I'll talk about Brian Reynolds here. A little bit of a down year last year, so pretty underwhelming, I suppose, especially on the Pirates. But if you look at his April, he basically slashed 200, 300, 300. And that's terrible. So who knows what was going on in April. We knew that the balls were all different. I don't know if that's a mental thing or he trying to max out for more power or something. Why am I only flying out to the wall? I don't know. But you look at after April, 272, 346, 485. That's much more of the Brian Reynolds I think that we'll get. He's top 4 in the lineup, I think, locked in. I think he still could be traded. Pirates, who knows? They got Ben Sherrington now running the ship over there. So I think that he kind of knows what he's doing. I could see him trading him if he gets a good package. I wonder if maybe the Mets would be in on him if they don't get Nimmo back in for center field. So I wonder about that. But what I love about him is he's a 5-category guy. So if you're playing Roto, you're getting all that contribution. He can handle the bat, handle the strike zone. So 275 average, I think, 350 OBP, 25 home runs. You're getting a full year of cruise now. So I think that should help the production a little bit, the counting stats. Probably 5 to 8 stolen bases. And I think with the changes, he's in that sprint speed 75 percentile. I know it doesn't translate exactly to stolen bases, but it is kind of an indication of how fast you are. I think maybe with those extra inches, only throwing over a couple of times, you could get a couple more bags out of that. You're talking about in a dynasty sense or better for points or Roto. I think maybe points just because he does take a walk. So for the OBP that plays up. But with Roto, the steals are nice. I think if you're going with that method of trying to spread around your stolen bases and get 8 to 10 from a handful of guys, I think he's a good piece for that. He's not going to cost you a ton in redraft, just to sprinkle that in. If you're contending, I'm buying. I think he's a nice outfield bat. 5 outfielders is tough to fill in a 15 league or deeper. So I'm always trying to add quality bats to the outfield. If I'm selling or rebuilding, it's kind of tough. I think I'd rather wait and see if he gets traded and then sell kind of on that hype of a new lineup, see if I can get a little bit more. But sometimes when you tell teams that, they kind of want to get ahead of that. And so maybe you can get them to up their price there in the moment. And then if you can get a deal you like, take it then. Equivalency, like pitching wise. So like if I'm trading a bat, I want to like shoot up for a pitcher. So like I don't think you can get in like the Manoah Wheeler area But like, would you take Lodolo, Marty? Like, would you do that swap, or would you just stick with Lodolo or go Brian Reynolds?
If I was completely rebuilding, I would take the flyer on Lodolo.
Yeah, but if
I don't think Reynolds is going to win me.
What if you were competing?
I'd hold
you're weak in the outfield.
Five outfielder. I'm holding it for the bat. Let me ask you this, Will. What about Robbie Ray? Who would you rather have in Dynasty?
Reynolds. Yeah.
Okay.
So I like Ray for the K's, but he just makes me a little worried. So like, I don't know what to when I'm throwing out them when I'm throwing him out there weekly. I don't know what I'm getting exactly.
What about Max Fried? Fried or Reynolds?
Yeah, I take Fried.
Okay.
I don't think you could get Fried from the Fried manager with Reynolds. I don't think so. But
probably
maybe.
Not. You'd have to throw in a little sweetener.
I think so.
I would keep Fried.
I mean, I would love that. Yeah. I would do that. But so I would buy if I'm contending. So I like Reynolds a lot. 5 category contributor.
And yeah, like you said, he could go get traded maybe in a better lineup and produce even more in that case. So it's definitely something to look at there. Elsie, let's go to you next. Let's go back to you. Who would you like to talk about?
Let me unmute myself here.
Okay.
Nico Horner. Nico, I want to start off by talking about this. Nico Horner finished 2022 with 10 home runs. And I don't know how precise this statistic is, but it appears that if he had played in Houston, he would have hit 22. And if he would have played in Cincinnati, he would have hit 20. So I don't think he's a 20 home run hitter, but I thought that was really interesting that he's a really ballpark dependent power hitter. Nico, what are you getting with Nico? He has elite zone contact rate. He's the type of hitter who just spits out good batting average years after good batting average years. That's what he looks like. Does he have anything other than that empty batting average? Well, hard to say. If you look this 2022, his good batting average in the beginning of the season, he hit 307 in the first half. And his home run rate was lower than it was in the second half when he hit 246, and his steal rate was lower than it was in the second half when he hit 246. So with Horner, he definitely had more power with that lower batting average in the second half of the season. I'm not sure if that was a result of a conscious decision on his part or if it was just small sample size deviations. His max exit velocity, though, does show that he has decent power. It's in about the 59th, 60th percentile, but he barely ever barrels the ball. So when you're looking at what you want to do with him, he's only 26 on opening day. He's not old. He's a shortstop. He has 20 steals per season speed. So he's not empty. He's got some wheels, but he's not great. So when you're trying to trade him, I think he's great for a contending team. He's a good middle infielder or a good fill-in off of a bench bat because he's got shortstop's a hard spot to fill. I think off the waiver wire. I think you can trade him. Look for prospects. I'd be looking at young guys like Zach Veen, guys who are just newly into systems and things like that. But I'd also, if you're looking for pitchers, if you're trying to trade hitting for pitching, there's a lot of guys in like the Jordan Montgomery area, Drew Rasmussen and Reed Detmers, like those types of young guys, those types of arms. I think you might be able to offer Horner to a team that might need a shortstop to get that. I don't think there's going to be much power development from him. I think 10 home runs, that to me seems like about right for him as an average season.
Okay. I mean, he's kind of a serviceable player. I don't think there's a ton of upside, right? Like you're kind of like, you know what you're going to get with him. You're going to get good batting average. You're going to get somebody that can score a lot of runs at the top of a lineup, like you're saying, but you don't see another gear for him.
The upside isn't if he starts to steal more. I think the upside is then if because his speed is good. It's in the 92nd percentile. He's got good sprint speed, and it's it's actually getting better. His top sprint speed has gotten better each season, so he's obviously working on it. His upside is in if he takes that 20 and turns it into 30. His upside is because he's playing every day. He's scoring. He's leading off. He's stealing 30 bases. He's hitting 280. If he gets you 9 home runs, you're not really sweating that too much. You're getting a lot of other stuff. But if he's stealing 19 bases and hitting 9 home runs and batting towards the bottom of the lineup because he doesn't walk a lot, then like what are you really getting from him?
Right.
280 is nice, but I hear you.
Yeah,
I think late too in redraft is different in Dynasty.
Yeah,
he's going pretty high in a redraft. He's going in the around 150 right now in redraft leagues, which is I think that's pretty high. Yes, that steals. Yeah.
All right. Let's go now to let's go Marty. Let's talk about the next player for the Cincinnati Reds. Are you just going to go to the next pitching stud?
Hunter Green. Yep. 23-year-old fireball thrower, man. This guy's he's fun to watch. So the good 30.8 K percentage. Absolutely incredible. 91st percentile. He throws smoke, but he walks way too many people. When the batters do get a hold of the ball, they absolutely crush it. 18th percentile in average exit velocity, 16th percentile in barrel percentage. And the biggest reason is it goes back to why I like Lodolo more. He only has 2 pitches. And you're not going to be able to last too long, especially when you get to the third. He may not even last like really ever to go seeing the lineups 3 times. All he throws is 4-seam 53.8% of the time, and his slider 40.9% of the time. So his changeup's the only thing left at 5.3%. His changeup doesn't do much. So the batters are waiting on the fastball. Now, the upside, and this is where you may be able to actually get a lot from him in a trade potentially. When he did return from the IL on September 17th, he was great the rest of the season. His first game back, he broke the major league record for most pitches thrown at 101 or more miles per hour. He threw 30 of them in one game. It's absolutely incredible. 30 of them over 101 miles per hour. So he throws smoke. In that month, he had 23 innings pitched. He had 37 strikeouts with a 0.78 ERA, a 1.77 FIP, and an xFIP of 2.23. So if you can ride that wave and look to trade him over the next month or so, I would definitely try to do that. A win now pitcher, I could see, look at you, Darvish, someone that you're just going to get one more year out of him. I think that's somebody you can probably shoot for. If you're looking to rebuild, and this more reflects that I don't really have too much confidence in him moving forward as a starting pitcher, especially in that ballpark, unless he comes up with a 3rd or 4th pitch. But I shooting for like a Pablo Lopez. Lopez is 26 years old, or maybe Devin Williams if you need a closer. I think that would be, and Green may be even better out of the bullpen at some point in his career. So I think that's where you're looking for like a rebuild pitcher. A win now hitter, I would go for like maybe like a Jay Cronenworth or a Trevor Story, maybe a Ketel Marte if someone's willing to give that up to you. But again, you're just going to have to hope that someone really believes into that last month that he had, because he won a lot of people leagues. So you'd have to target that person and go after them. And then like a rebuild hitter, I mean, Ezekiel Tovar with someone I would try to go get, Andres Jimenez or like a Gleyber Torres.
Do you think it's firm in dynasty context that Lodolo is firmly ahead of Green, Marty?
I think now it's the opposite in redraft right now. More people, Green has Hunter Green's ADP right now is 119 in redraft. Nick Lodolo's is 134. So more people are believing in Green. I think it's because of that last month. But what they're not seeing is that Green relies on only those 2 pitches, and his command is all over the place. And when hitters do hit the ball, they're crushing them because they're just sitting on that fastball all the time. So Lodolo, he needs to have the better long-term dynasty value. He has a full arsenal.
I like that comparison. That
Aroldis Chapman
right now
started with the Reds too.
Hunter Green is the
starter.
The new
his average miles per hour was up 3 ticks when he was a relief pitcher. When they put him into a full starting role, you just saw that melt away, and he had to take how many times was he on the IL?
A lot.
2 or 3 times, because he's not built for that. And if you're throwing that ball over 100 miles per hour, even the best Jacob deGrom, he can't do that. So it's just not sustainable. I think he's a bullpen arm.
I think the injury risk
You're a
that comes
hater.
with Green.
I had him on one of my teams too.
I think the injury risk in Dynasty was a little bit greater with Hunter Green. It seems like the way he plays doesn't age as well as someone like maybe like Nick Lodolo does. So that's the only reason in Dynasty I might go Lodolo ahead of Green, but in redraft I think Hunter Green could be a league winner. Like I wouldn't be shocked when we start diving into our MySpace top 8 episode, that he's not on one of our lists because of
let me be honest. They're both. These are both my dudes. But if I had to choose one, I'm choosing Lodolo.
2 of your MySpace top 8 are going to be Reds pitchers.
That's what it sounded like to me. It sounded like you said sell that guy ASAP.
I would do so because I really, really believe that his dynasty value is potentially the highest it could ever be in his entire career right now.
So let me ask you this. What would you rather see? Like, would you prefer him not be in that park for his home park, or would you prefer his command to be better?
What I'd like to see him is go to a team that has a better track record with developing pitching.
Cleveland.
Right?
Yeah. Cleveland's that's a good place to start, and a better stadium.
He should just go to LA.
I mean,
are we firmly on speaking of Cleveland, Tristan McKenzie over Hunter Green?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you saying who would you rather have?
Yeah.
Green's upside is really high, but the floor is definitely lower. We've seen McKenzie put it together this last year.
I'd roll with Green just because of that upside.
McKenzie's gonna be one of my guys. He already is right now.
And in a redraft, there's no question we're going to Tristan McKenzie. I'm not waiting for that development, but
he kind of already did. Yeah, he broke out pretty much, and
I'm not waiting for Green's development.
Gotcha.
He's a step ahead.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. Again, I will be interested to see what Hunter Green does to replicate how he finished the season last year, and maybe it'll change the discussion next off season.
He won me a league. I love the dude, but the more I looked into it, I was like, no.
Yeah, sell high.
I get it. Yep. Doc, why don't we stick with you and go to your next player?
I'm going to actually save Paul Goldschmidt for last because I think the next guy is more of a interesting discussion, and that's Tommy Edman. So you look at the
Why'd you post him and his wife?
Nice picture.
That's going to be the nice thing I say about Tommy Edman is
I am buying.
He can pull.
I'll buy too.
It's an attractive girl. You look last year, 265, 324, 400, 13 homers, 57 RBIs, 32 steals, which you love to see. He's 27 years old, but I have him as a dynasty sell, and there's a lot of alarming things that show me that when you look at his StatCast page, most of it is in that blue, not Mr. Freeze blue, but average exit velocity, 32th percentile or 32nd percentile, hard hit, 36, barrel percentage, 33rd. So he's not going to be a power hitter that you're ever going to get. He's in the 86th percentile in sprint speed, but he went 32 out of 35 on the bags last year, which was a 91%. So I don't know if those necessarily correlate, but to me, I don't think he'll be 91% successful last year, considering the 3 years prior, he went 47 to 57, which was 82%. So I don't think he's going to be as successful on the base pass, although I know they are increasing the size of it. You look at his BABIP, 346, 301, 291, and 306. And for someone that doesn't hit the ball hard, I think those numbers are going to go down a lot. And then you look at what the Cardinals are doing with his contract. If the Cardinals like someone, they're willing to pay them. And he's making about $560,000 this year. They have a lot of good young talent that could easily take his spot. And if Tommy Edman gets traded most other places, he is likely going to suffer in dynasty terms. So what I'd be looking to do, you're going to need to replace the steals. I would look to trade him and someone that just had a really good year, maybe like a Jameson Taillon, and try to get Randy Arozarena. I think it's going to be really hard to replicate those steals. I don't think Randy Arozarena is a sexy name, but he's someone that will help kind of replenish that stolen base value, but somebody that I think is going to be more valuable long-term. All right, Will, tell me why I'm wrong.
There are a lot of people that like Tommy Edman this year.
I don't know. I mean, you could be right. I mean, the StatCast isn't great. I think he's a ball player. So I just think that sometimes like his profile doesn't suggest like I need you to smack the ball all around the yard.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that he just kind of a sneaky hitter, and I think that the Cardinals like those guys. Like I think I see them more keeping him and moving him around the diamond as their young guys come up, like Wynn and Walker. But I guess they could sell him. But he seems like a Cardinal player to me.
He could be.
And I love the stolen bases. That's that. So if we're thinking Roto, I think if you're talking points, whole different ball game. You can sell him on that notion of someone else thinking, oh, stolen bases are great. Well, it's different in points. So
yeah, that's true. I think he is what he is. I think there was potential. Some people, I thought very smart people in the fantasy baseball industry, were predicting 20 homers this year, and he looked like he was on that way early on, and kind of fell off as the season went on. But he still, like Will said, I think he's a very good ball player, and he also has a lot of position flexibility. So when the Jordan Walkers of the world or any of the other high-end prospects come up for this team, they can shift him around, which I think is going to give him appeal long-term too with the position flexibility.
I just think he's one of the most valuable trade pieces for the Cardinals, and they have a lot of good hitting, and they don't have a lot of good pitching.
Well, I mean, I guess
in Dynasty, they got a lot of those DH first base types. Yeah. Like Yepez and Burleson. I could see them trading from that.
They also have Brendan Donovan and Edmundo Sosa and Nolan Gorman.
Gorman too, yeah. Gorman's interesting. Where's he going to play?
I think if you're talking about trade candidate, I think he might be, if they're looking to get pitching, he might be the more attractive name because he's prospect pedigree, had a lot of power last season, and a team that might need some power, and especially at a thin position like second base. I feel like he could be their best trade chip in terms of hitters.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll play second base, though, because with those shift rules, the range is going to be shortened up on him. So he might be more first base DH type, which would suggest a trade, or third base if someone feels he can play that.
My bold prediction that he gets traded, since we're talking about it now, that Nolan Gorman is with a different team.
The power is legit, so.
It is. Yeah. Got to cut the strikeout numbers. Obviously, that was a problem for a little bit, but he definitely has the power.
He's only 22. That's wild.
He's young. Another young player that let's stick with the young theme is Esteury Ruiz, who started out the year with the San Diego Padres, but got some time with the Brewers last season. If you're looking at the exact amount of plate appearances, he got only 36 plate appearances, but that qualifies for this show as he did get some major league time. People that were plugged into the prospect world probably noted Esteury Ruiz because he had over 60 stolen bases in the minor leagues last season, and it was just running wild. And I think people were shocked when they saw that he was included in the Josh Hader trade. But this is a guy right now that pretty much, I think his value can't get any lower in terms of how people are viewing him for what he did at the major. This was somebody that I think was starting to really build up his profile. And then with how he played in the major leagues, and for those that did not see what he did at the big leagues this year, hit 171 in 36 plate appearances, a 194 OBP, did only strike out in 19% of plate appearances this year, but max EV was awful. Hard hit percentage of only 10%. Keep in mind, league average is right near 36%. Did not really do anything well. Again, not even stealing bases, only one stolen base in that time. So you might be able to get him at a lower cost just because of what people saw at the big league level last year. But again, throughout his minor league career, stole a ton of bases, hit above 300 at every single level he played at in 2022, and just looked like he was really starting to catch on. He does not strike out nearly as much as you would think. Pretty much ever since 2019 has kept his strikeout percentage 26% or lower, with all of 2022 at about 17% until he got to the big league. So I like his profile. He's fast with the stolen bases stuff that's going to happen this year with the bigger bases. Strikeouts are not a problem. I think he's going to adjust as he gets more time in the big leagues. So I think he's somebody that you could take advantage of now and buy for Dynasty. In terms of what I would trade him for, it's so hard because I think people are viewing him very differently. Some people are out on him, and some people are looking at this as a buy low. So I think it's a very much of a bigger window in terms of that. But again, one of Triple Play Fantasy's best prospect minds here in Vinny down on the farm. If you're buying Ruiz, be aware of Sam Frelick, who right now is also one of the Brewers' top prospects here. I believe he's the number 2 prospect for the Brewers behind Jackson Chourio. So, and they also have Garrett Mitchell there too, who's probably who I'm going to talk about next. So there's a lot of competition. That is the one downside with Esteury Ruiz. Now that we're hitting the hour mark, let's go and hit our last guy here, which should be our, I don't want to say it's our least interesting guy, but definitely probably not as much as our first 2. So let's go around the horn here. Start off with Will. Who's your last guy for the Pirates?
Well, least interesting would probably fit because it's a closer. But David Bednar, back injury last year, 2 months out. I don't love that, but basically everything else I do love. Elite strikeout rate, good K- walk rate, swing and strike rate, good, all really good numbers. Elite ratios. The backup indicators back it up. xERA 3.12, xWHIP 1.06. Again, the drawback is the team context. So it's the Pirates. We're not going to win a lot of games. But the thing is that I think they're going to be close games. So I think I could still see 30 saves. In Roto, that's huge. So I'd probably be buying in Dynasty if I'm trying to build up a contender or add like maybe that second closer that I think can pair well with the closer I already have. But I think he's good enough to be a number 1. Checks all the boxes for me with, can get swing and misses, limits walks, not going to get blown up. I guess there maybe is a little concern about how they utilize him. They were using him a little early at some points last year, not getting that save. So I guess that could come in. But I think if he got traded, I mean, we're talking about skills that would put him in the top probably 6-7 closers. So that's kind of a guy I'm looking to buy in Dynasty ahead of the curve. If I'm selling or rebuilding and I'm picking him up or already have him or looking to flip him, I think you probably have to because it's a closer, just the nature of the beast. And those guys pop up every year. Helsley, Batista. If you're in a deep enough league, those guys are rostered. But in your, more shallow dynasty, those guys pop up. So obviously gauge that. But I would probably be selling. If I'm looking for a bat, if I'm selling them, probably mid-20s, late 20s guy. So like if I want power, maybe like an Anthony Santander. Or if I want speed, maybe Ahmed Rosario. Or Nico Horner, like we mentioned. I think a little cheesecake would trade me Nico Horner for David Bednar. See, look at him nodding. Yeah. See,
he wants his guy.
Yeah, there you go. So, but I love him. Pirates got a couple starting pitchers that could be something, but a lot of bad fastballs. And it's the Pirates. They're not going to win a lot of games. I like Luis Ortiz. He's honorable mention. Really, really good slider, but he might be a reliever. The walks, we'll see, and doesn't have a third pitch. So, but David Bednar, my third guy, I'd be buying if I'm trying to contend. I like him.
I like David Bednar as well.
Yeah.
LC,
I know we're looking to move on quickly, but I just want to ask Will, why do you hate Brian Hayes?
What are we really getting? I mean, I love stolen bases at third base. I think if you can get stolen bases at third base and catcher, you're setting yourself up good for a lot of options later. You don't have to pin yourself into something. But I don't think you're getting much power. I mean, I don't know what's going on. He's got a back last year and a wrist problem also that it seemed like maybe it's degenerative or something that it's just he's not going to be able to get to that power. The ground ball rate is huge. He's 26 now. I'm selling him in Dynasty because I just don't know. I mean, people still say maybe he'll hit 25 home runs, and I mean, that would be great. I just don't think I see that. And so from third base, you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball, not having a power guy there, I think.
Fair enough. Little Cheesecake, I want you to tell the world who you would like to talk about. Please tell us the guy that you want to talk about, please.
Christopher Morel is the third guy I'd like to talk about.
No, but I need you to explain it to talk to us about him. Can you tell us you would like to talk about him?
I would like to talk about Christopher Morel.
Bingo!
He said the secret word.
Well,
I would like to talk about
earlier.
My God.
I was tweeting. I was DMing Will about it the entire time, so he knew.
Christopher Morel. I would like to talk about him. He's going to be 23 on opening day. Second baseman, has unusual power for a second baseman. The one thing that I would like to say about him is that his contact in the major leagues in 2022 was awful. His zone contact rate of 69 of under 70%, 69.7 was over 3.5 ticks below next to last among all hitters with 400 plate appearances in the major leagues last year. He had the worst zone contact rate in the bigs. His whiff rate, his whiff percentage, he's in the one percentile. I don't even know how to say that. He's in the 1th percentile. But his max EV is in the 88th percentile. His hard hit percentage is over 50, is in the 50th percentile. His xWOB is in the 60th. Like, what are we doing with these numbers? They don't mean anything. The guy can't hit the ball. 69.7%. I think he's a sell now. His value's high because of his power potential at second base. I think you got to try and get what you can for him now, because until that zone contact rate goes up, he's going to be a streaky hitter. For me, that's not the type of hitter I like to roster. These guys who are frustrating, who you never know if they're in their 1 for 24 week or if they're in their 11 for 24 week. That's that to me. He's not the type of player who I like to roster, even though he does have potential for a power speed combo. Even though he was only 10 for 17 on the base pass last year, that percentage may go up with the changes, but I don't see him hitting, getting enough contact to really have that power be meaningful this year.
So I have a question for you, LC. So you brought up Christopher Morel as your last player. I'm curious why you didn't include Seiya Suzuki as one of your top 3 dynasty players for the Cubs.
I like to focus on the more younger guys when I'm picking the guys from the team. I want to talk about guys but Suzuki was a rookie last year. He would have been a great choice to look at. He's only 28. So I found him to be an interesting player last season. Of course, he started so hot, and then the league kind of caught up to him. And then he leveled, but he does have power. He does have big league power. He's got to get used to the pitching. I think he's kind of a question mark going into next season as to what you're going to get from him. But he's going to get plate appearances. I just don't know if you're going to see him produce a better season, to be honest with you, than he did last season.
Okay. I mean, you watch as many Cubs games as anybody. So if you're having those concerns, then
I mean, he was a world beater in April, and he was mediocre the rest of the way, pretty much. He was terrible. He was bad after he was a world beater. Then he was just mediocre the rest of the way. He's got to figure out how, and the Japanese hitters often have this issue coming over. Japanese hitters aren't, except for Ohtani, there's not a huge line of Japanese hitters who came over here and killed it. So he'd be an exception to the rule.
Fair enough.
Plus, he was injured a lot too, and it's a long season adjusting to the hundreds.
What's that?
I'm full buy.
Full buy
in Suzuki, especially OBP leagues.
Can we get a Seiya Suzuki for Nico Horner straight up?
Absolutely. I get Suzuki. Absolutely. I think he could be 20-25 home run bat, 10 stolen bases, 270, 370 OBP. I mean, I guess the lineup might not be great, but I think probably not as good as he was in April, but I think the injured finger would cost him a month or whatever that was.
Yeah.
I think maybe played some of the role. I think just second year over here now too, maybe a little bit more comfortable. Yeah. I just think this might be the window where you can buy and it's not an extreme cost. And I could see him jumping into that top 20-25 outfield. So I'd be buying.
Will, would you rather have him or Nick Castellanos, Dynasty?
Suzuki.
I love it.
Average or OBP? Either one, but
either. Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, OBP, I don't think it's, I think it's a lot closer, but
I'd take Suzuki. But I think Casti could be good for a bounce back too his second year. A little bit. He seemed a little bit more comfortable towards the end of the year. I think he likes playing those meaningful games. Playoffs kind of charged him up a little bit. I mean, that's maybe me wishing that he would go into the offseason, work really hard, try to come back, be his best self, but we'll see.
I think we all
have to play the outfield.
We all can agree that Super Saiyan Suzuki looked very much like it early in the season. Then he turned to base form in the middle of the season. Then he kind of went back Super Saiyan at the end. So hopefully we get more of that next year from him and not that middle season lull there. Marty, let's give the Cliff Notes version of your last guys. We'll all kind of fly through these here. So we're not here all night. So go ahead, Marty, give us your guy.
Jonathan India. So, just like his season, it was a cliff note. He didn't play too much last year. 2021 Rookie of the Year. Last year, injured. Right hamstring injury, cost him 48 games. He was hit by a pitch on his left shin. It was a deep bone bruise that affected him the rest of the season. So when you compare his StatCast data from his rookie campaign to last year, I mean, everything has just completely fallen off the map. So now what I do see as and another thing that he even talked about was that the Reds lost Nick. They lost Nick Castellanos, Jesse Winker, and Suarez. And so there was literally no protection for him. So he was pressing. His walk percentage in his rookie year was in the 81st percentile, and it dropped all the way down to the 39th percentile. So that just shows he was really just, he's going up there just trying to hit the ball, playing out of his own, playing out of his league. So I do expect him to bounce back. He's going to be fully healed. He's going to regain his sprint speed, which went down. And then just quickly, like a win now pitcher, like a Luis Garcia, I think from the Astros could be good, or like a Clayton Kershaw, if you need an arm for next year. If you're looking to rebuild, I think like a Reed Detmers or a Tariq Skubal, I think somewhere in that range. And that kind of speaks to, I don't think he's going to be as good, as his rookie year for the rest of his life, even though he's a good ball player out of Florida. And then a win now hitter, a Nick Castellanos, we were just talking about him, or a Brandon Lowe or Lau. I always forget which one it is, the second baseman. Mm-hmm. And then that's a win now hitter. And then if a rebuild, I would just hold. I would just hold to see what we can get out of him.
Do we like his ADP for redraft at 173? Because I think that's an incredible value.
Yeah. And that could possibly be your middle infielder at that point. And then, he can kind of move around. Get you maybe the 15 homers, 15 stolen bases. He's still in that same park. He's going to get at bats if he stays healthy. So redraft, I'm a lot higher on him than Dynasty.
Yeah, redraft. I mean, second base in general in redraft. I know it's a Dynasty show, but there is a lot of later second basemen, like Brandon Lau is there, Max Muncy, then obviously Jonathan India. Then you have Jake Cronenworth. All these guys are like right in that range, like after pick 150. So if you miss out on second baseman, Vaughn Grissom too, Ketel Marte, these are like this is an interesting range.
Does Muncy have second base next season?
According to NFBC, he does. He's second and first.
Okay. So he lost third then.
Yeah, I'm sorry, second and third. I'm sorry. Second and third.
No first.
Not first.
He lost first. That's right.
Yeah.
I knew he lost one. Sorry.
Yeah. Doc, you're up.
Last guy I'm talking about, it's the NL MVP. It's Paul Goldschmidt. And when we look at his MVP season, finally won it. 317, 404, 578, 35 homers, 150 RBI, 7 stolen bases. He's 35 years old. If you have him, you're holding, unless you get a king's ransom. But if you're contending in the next year or two, you got to buy him. This is an acquisition you make if you're all in, if you're trying to contend for a dynasty title. He's the guy that's going to push it over. Career high, 578 slug percentage. His walk percentage after dipping in 2021 came back to 12.1% in 2022. Does strike out a little bit of the time, but once again, he's durable. He's played 90% of games in 10 out of the last 11 seasons. And you're going to have to give up a lot for him. So these are some people I would give up straight up. I'd give up Austin Riley for him. I know Austin Riley is promising. I know that he has a lot of power. I'm worried a little bit about the K rate for that. I think Paul Goldschmidt's going to give you better average and more stolen bases. I would give it Matt Olson for him. I would give up. You have to give up more than someone like Rodon. I would even maybe try and lowball do a 2-for-1. We're talking about how much we like Tristan McKenzie, him and Corey Seager. Two guys that are younger. You're giving a pitcher and you're giving a hitter. But Goldschmidt is going to be that guy that's going to help you in any format that you're playing in.
Yeah, he's Paul Goldschmidt.
You love him.
Yeah, over Austin Riley. You heard it first, folks.
I'm not that big in Austin Riley.
What about the age? What about the age at all?
You hate Austin Riley. He's only 25.
He did it back-to-back seasons, Eric.
You know what? He has these really good weeks, but I still I'm not sold on him yet.
He lost money on him.
Jeez.
No, it's not even that.
You're a tough guy.
You guys can have your add this to the next 3-year bet. You guys can just tally a few of them.
There
Austin
we go.
Riley versus Paul Goldschmidt.
To be retired.
I'll take that
so
bet.
35, as ageist as I can be, as Marty says, 35. We've seen hitters.
Yeah, he's older than me. What are you talking about?
So
This guy's
5
ancient.
more years.
Okay, but that's why I said if you're contending in the next year or two, you're getting Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt is going to be
Hold on. This is blasphemous, bro. Riley's 27.
Austin Riley barely walks. He strikes out a lot.
Will said I had enough of you, Doc.
I'm just in a dynasty. I guess maybe
Austin
contract
Riley's only
league, but in a
25.
dynasty,
His BABIP the last 2 years has been 368 and 315.
yeah, because he murders the baseball.
Eric, who's better next season?
Goldschmidt or Riley?
Yeah.
Goldschmidt.
Who's better the year after that?
Goldschmidt.
Who's better the year after that?
Riley.
So you want to say the next 2 years?
Yeah.
That Goldschmidt's better than Riley. What do you think about that, Will?
Over the next 2 years?
Yeah. That's why I said if you're contending in the next year or two, you're gonna pay for Goldschmidt. If you're
giving up Austin Riley, though, I don't know if I would do that.
Tough. That's tough.
What about
because you already got? I mean, how much more are
base?
you getting from Goldschmidt than Riley?
Two more. That's a good point.
You said what?
He said the position scarcity too, because Riley's third base.
Doc,
I love
Doc, but Goldie, I don't know. Riley, Doc, don't be backpedaling, Doc. Doc, don't be backpedaling, Doc.
Austin Riley murders the ball, but I just don't like someone that's much of a Here's
Doc.
Don't
go safety on me.
You're giving him up for an MVP.
Don't go cornerback on me, Doc.
He's on the back pedal.
How's it quarterback? Wait.
No. I'm just teasing.
I was going to say, the graphic says.
Run it up.
I'm sorry. The graphic says next 1 to 2 years.
Okay. But I don't know if I could do Riley. I feel like you gotta, I don't know. But maybe. Even McKenzie and Seager, that's a lot, man. I think you could just do Seager and something smaller than McKenzie. I think if you're a Goldschmidt owner and you're getting that, you're doing that real quick.
To take Austin Riley next year in drafts.
Well, where do you think he's going right now? I'll first throw that out there.
He's second, third round, isn't he?
He is going right now, pick 23. So in a
15-team
league,
in
a 15-team league,
base,
he's in the middle of the second round.
Yeah. I thought he was going to be in the 40 to 45 range.
Bro, that lineup is so juicy for counting stats. It's better than the Cardinals.
It's going to age obviously a lot better with how young the Braves are.
Doc,
I ain't getting any Austin Riley this year. 20.
Doc. Okay,
this is gonna be fun to watch all season. Austin Riley versus Paul Goldschmidt.
Hey, this is what makes it fun, though. Some people are in and some are out, so it leaves the Rileys for the rest of us.
I love it.
I mean, look.
Imagine this conversation
how
took
many
an
times
hour, 18 minutes.
Think about a Miguel Sano that just murders the ball but strikes out a shit ton.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
No.
Don't go there.
He dropped
it. Compare him. You just compare him to Miguel.
I did.
Don't go there.
He swore and compared him to
Doc. Doc, you're digging your grave further, Doc.
Worse than the swearing, Doc.
I'm just saying, if you're talking about someone that just murders the ball.
All right.
Let's close the show on a question.
If Sano could stay healthy for a full season, maybe we could see what he could do.
That's impossible.
No, he's too fat.
I'll end the show on a question because I could talk about Garrett Mitchell. I could talk about Aaron Ashby or Freddie Peralta or even Brandon Woodruff. Out of those four guys, who would you guys say is the best dynasty asset on that team? Woodruff.
Can you go through them again?
Woodruff, I believe, is 28, 29, I think. Woodruff, Peralta, Ashby.
30 when the year starts.
Yeah.
It'll be 30. Okay, so Woodruff, Peralta, Ashby, or Garrett Mitchell. Who would you guys rather have in a dynasty league? If you are, let's say, rebuilding, then obviously if you're contending, you're going to probably want Woodruff. So let's flip it. If you're rebuilding, who do you want out of those four guys?
I feel like Woodruff's going to age well. I really do. I don't think he's like a high innings guy. I think he's like a 160 to 180 guy, but he's a really good pitcher. I think he's going to age well too. So I take Woodruff.
Those ratios are good.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Peralta had a little bit better of a health picture, maybe Peralta, you take the 3 years age gap, but I don't think, I mean, we just don't know how many innings Peralta can go. So I like
Ashby. Even though he burned me last year, I think the skill set is still there for him.
So you're back in.
I'm back in, but
good job. No, that's good.
Yeah, he was one of my MySpace top 8 guys. He was one of the 3 guys I legit posted everywhere how much I wanted, and I took him in so many places. But I still like him. I just don't know. He kind of like, we were in love, and now we're like, we backpedaled, and now we're in the like stage now.
Ooh, I hear some ice cracking. I don't know, Mandy.
Yeah, it's thin ice, man. He burned me last year, but the skills are still there. So I'm like kind of like 1 foot stepping on, but I'm ready. I could fall in. I know. So
man, I can hear it cracking in your voice and everything.
Yeah, man.
It could be. He could put it all together.
He's a bit. It all comes down to like where he goes in drafts, because you're gonna have to. He's not sneaking up on anybody, so everybody's kind of like sees it and they know it's a possibility, and that's the question.
I think you can get him cheap in Dynasty relatively. I think that shine is worn off a little bit.
Yeah,
I was in one league that somebody sold him off pretty cheaply, and he was high on him in April. So I was like, "You're already giving up on him?" Or I've seen it. I've seen enough. It's like, all right, I guess.
That's a quick trigger in Dynasty. In Dynasty, I would still be giving him another year before I would consider moving on. But that's it. That's probably the longest Dynasty show we've done, but that was everything you want. Tons of great information. Doc being very off with a couple things, and just great discussion all around from everybody. But on that note, Will, thank you so much for hopping on the show, man. It's a ton of fun having you on, and please plug all the great stuff you're doing, where people can find you on Twitter and all that good stuff.
Appreciate y'all, man. It was a blast. I'm ready to go another hour or two. Let's do it. So anytime you guys want to have me back on, I'm happy to come on. I'm just on Twitter. I'm not affiliated with anything right now. So on Twitter at W Garofalo. It's GAROFALO 2. So, tweet here and there. DM's always open. You have any questions, fantasy, otherwise, whatever, life, happy to talk. But yeah, thanks you guys again, man. It was a lot of fun.
Hey, I can be pretty confident and say this won't be the last time we have you on, man. So keep those DMs open, because I'll be hitting you up to come back on sometime soon for sure.
I love it.
And make sure
after Paul Goldsmith does better than Austin Riley.
We got a couple. Yeah. I'm gonna be in the DMs. We got a couple to settle. We'll figure it out.
All right.
There we go.
Love it. I love it.
Make sure you're following all the other guys too. Art is a new Twitter handle. I was going to ask you about that. Art finally show approved. It's now at ArtTPF on Twitter. Marty_Tallman. Doc is at AAA Fantasy. I'm at DMendio2. Any questions you have for fantasy, you can hit up any of us. We'll answer those. And if you guys like supporting the channel, please make sure you subscribe. Make sure you guys like the videos and leave a comment below for the old algae. And that helps get us seen by more people. So we appreciate you guys on YouTube and on the podcast, wherever you listen each and every week. But for Will, for Elsie, for Marty, for Doc, I'm D Mendy. We're going to make like a bread truck and we're going to haul these buns. Talk to you guys next week.